Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Jung, and I'm here today to speak on the narrative of divorce influencing and relationship change-making. I come from a fairly traditional family background, liberal, conservative, academic. I am also part of a family company of 4 generations. I've had the privilege to work in various leadership roles. I'm very used to working in male-dominated environments. I have 4 brothers. Side note, I can wrestle. I am also a single mother of 2. I'm a sole provider of 2. I am divorced, I'm separated, and I'm an entrepreneur within family tech. I tend to stick my neck out slightly in matters of equal equity, legal and financial equality, sound relationships, and fair divorces. I'm not always the most popular person in the room. I've been harassed, I've been publicly criticized, but I've also been greatly supported and uplifted in my work. I'm here today to share with you my point of view on why relationships matter now more than ever. I'm also here today to urge and hopefully encourage you to be the relationship change makers that society so very much needs today, that our businesses very much needs today, and that we need on a personal, individual level. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger perspective for a while, to see the larger shifts and movements in terms of our relationships. We've seen, post-Me Too, 7 years in now, a narrowing of the gender gap, sure. But we're also seeing tendencies of a new rift being created in between genders. Yes, women are more academically advanced today than ever before. Women have surpassed men in academics in many demographics, soon to actually be shown in the payment gender gap. And yes, we are facing the largest shift in capital and wealth ever seen in this time. It is the capital and the wealth from the generations of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s that is now being transferred down to Generation X, Y, and Z. Daughters included, because they're in the game now. And yes, we're seeing more women in the workforce entering doors that they've never entered before. However, on the other side of things, we're seeing an increased gender polarization taking place. We're seeing increased depression and mental illness amongst young people. We live in a very uncertain and politically polarized world today, yes. Social media echo chambers, incel environments, inability amongst younger men to create and initiate relationships. Amongst this, we're seeing a trending of soft girls somewhere around here. We're seeing that younger women tends to gear towards left and liberalism. And we're seeing that younger men tend to gear towards right-wing conservatism. I'm going to speak on the love-hate relationships, the entering and the exiting of relationships. I see mainly 4 things affecting us in these cases: online dating, marriage as such, money matters, and how this impacts our demographics. Online dating. Online dating is fierce. It is today the most common standard in how we meet our partners and our significant others. But the spec sheet and the criteria that you have to pass through to qualify as somebody's other significant other, it is very slim, giving us a fairly small pond of candidates to choose from. We have also yet to see the long-term effects of our online matches. What we do, however, unfortunately see is an increase of divorce and separation, 50% in contemporary demographics. Marriage as an institution, and the no longer being of the nuclear family. Marriage as an institution was founded in the Middle Ages, not only pushed for religious reasons, but to create bonds and bring together nations, masses of land, and to create strategic family and power alliances. This is no longer the case, and we are, where we move, pretty much inclined to be with whomever we wish to be with. However, there's a certain sense of disposalness today when it comes to our relationships. We no longer have only one spouse throughout our lifetime, but we tend to have 2 to 3 longer relationships. We enter into these relationships much later in life. We marry less, we cohabit more. Financial factors. Yes, women are gaining financial strength, but it is coming at a cost. It is clearly seen and proven that women advancing in their careers have a much higher risk of facing divorce and separation. Women also still carry the heavier workload in household and at home with children. And with women being increasingly more so the breadwinners, we ask ourselves, who pays for date night? Who wears the pants? Who is the knight in shining armor? These things combined affect demographics in a large scale. As we move into our relationships much later, we have fewer babies. We face the physical consequences of this, health issues, infertility, but you do the math, because fewer babies over X time means less people to innovate, to drive technology, and to bring financial growth. So things don't look so great for relationships. I believe there are 3 main factors that come into play here for relationship change-making: money, mental wellness, as well as legal frameworks. And looking into money matters. Money is the first and foremost conflict point in relationships, before, during, and after our relationships. Unfortunately, it also leaves a very bitter aftertaste, not only affecting adults, but also children. Having the ability and the access to legal aid and financial know-how is thus far mostly available to those with means, not to a general public. And do we use protection? No, we don't use protection. In Sweden, only an average of 30% safe up legally in terms of prenuptial agreements or cohabit agreements. My team and I work quite a bit with research and releasing reports and data. We had a thesis that sick leave has a direct correspondence to divorce and separation. It took us 3 years to dig up the data to prove our point, and this happened last year. Now, with this point at hand, we can actually put a direct number to said sick leave. Sick leave in Sweden, the main factors and risks, they fall into psychiatric diagnosis. Within that group, cliffhanger, what do you think provides the higher risk? Divorce and separation. So again, this is a numbers game, for companies especially. This affects their bottom lines. This is a matter of profit and loss. And our great goddess of justice, well, I'm sorry to say, but she's running slightly behind her game. The structures of justice and legal today in our society, it's a square peg, round hole scenario. They just don't fit. The legal frameworks don't live up to the standards and the structures of how relationships are formed today. I'm working on it. So what we have is a 3-monkey scenario. On the one hand, as an individual, I'm facing financial difficulties and health problems. As a company, I don't even know that this is an issue because I think my employees leave their relationship at the door. And as a society, I'm just not keeping up. But there is a solution. Introducing Relationship 2.0, rest assured. And I'll tell you what, it ain't rocket science. It's about talk, empathy, and being pragmatic. We are blessed with the gift of speech and talking to one another and communicating. Speak to your significant other about money. The financial relationship to your significant other will be the single most important financial relationship in your life. Speak to your children about money, because they're not going to get it at school. And speak to your friends. Benchmark, compare, create emergency plans, get in the know-how. Show empathy. Realize and be aware of the fact that relationships affect our entire world. We don't leave it at the door when we enter the office. Healthier workplaces provides more sustainable businesses. And be pragmatic. This is the boring and the unromantic part. But in the same way that we have legal and finance as hygiene factors in our companies, in our corporations, we need to introduce this into our relationships. It is a hygiene factor. So, as a final remark, I urge you to see and be aware of the perspectives that I've hopefully shed some light on in the last few minutes, but also the greater perspectives that you uniquely have access to in terms of digitalization, in terms of tech, in terms of mindsets, and in terms of the vast knowledge that is at the tip of your fingers. And to society and civil structures, I say, with love, step up your game. To the backbone of our financial beings and our financial lives, meaning banks, insurers, and financial institutions, I say, with love, get a hold of your customer need and start bringing products forth that enable and foster and safeguard our relationships. And to you, dear listeners, I say, with love, this can only be a win. Being relationship change makers will not only make you more safe and sound, happier and healthier, making money. That's a win, win, win. Thank you.